We are back for you here in our Car Heaven studio today with the all-new BMW 4 Series Coupé. Of course, we talk about exterior, interior and the prospect of driving, but also about number plates in different countries and big news also for all BMW Android users. So please join us with this one. Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! The new BMW 4 Series Coupé, the first thing you see, this huge front grille, and it is actually almost the same as we've seen in the 4 Series concept vehicle, which aroused a lot of attention. And you can see it's not only wider, but even more, vertical than before. So really huge, and yeah, of course, the first thing you see then is this big number plate. This will be in Germany, so every country or every US state especially that does not require the front number plate, they'll be the winner of this vehicle. And probably this vehicle will be sold even more exactly in these countries or these US states where it's not needed to have the front number plate. So if you are in one of these countries or US states, I really envy you, because cars look so stupid with front number plates in general, I think. And here, of course, it's an even bigger problem. Yeah, about that. Let's discuss it in the comments. Interesting that we now have this mesh grille here. So this is in general reserved for the 4 Series Coupé. So far only for the M Performance models. But this one is indeed also an M Performance model. It's the M440i. So we have cerium gray accentuation as a color. You can also get this shadow line, BMW high gloss shadow line, then it would be in black. Would be also possible. Color for today is called Arctic Race Blue. Very interesting. Not exactly a strong Thomas blue tone, that would be rather the accentuations in the laser light here, but very interesting definitely. Talking about the lights, standard is LED, and this one here is the optional adaptive LED together with the laser light. You can see the daytime running light is more, let's say sophisticated, a little bit more, more swing in there. We'll soon also take a comparison. And then the laser light with the blue accentuations, 550 meters of high beam range then in countries where this is allowed regulation-wise. 4.77 meters, 15'6" or 188 inches is the length of the 4 Series Coupé. That is 13 centimeters or 5 inches longer than the predecessor 4 Series Coupé. Well, also the wheelbase is a little bit longer. That will definitely help on the interior also with the legroom and so on. And we can see here again the cerium gray accentuations. Here, for example, for the side mirror caps in this M440i model. There will also be the M440d, soon more to the engines. As for wheels, they start with 17-inch, then optional for the 440 models would be then included 18-inch, and this is here optional even for the 440i, 19-inch. And optional, you can get 20-inch as a maximum. Characteristically for the Coupé, of course, two-door, frameless doors, and then the falling roofline. So if you compare it to the 3 Series, by the way, sedan or also touring, of course, first of all, the car is lower on the top, but also sits 10 millimeters lower from suspension already. And that means there's a lower center of gravity, and that brings a little bit more sportiness. Talking about suspensions, same as with the 3 Series in this case then. Well, it's a little bit lower, yes, but you get a base suspension with hydraulic cushions already. Then you get a fixed M Sport suspension, which is really stiff. Would be standard for the 440 models, and then optional and adaptive suspension. And we would recommend either stick with the base, save money, or then go with the adaptive suspension if you want the best comfort. Or if you pick the M440i or M440d, then definitely go for the optional adaptive suspension. Well, and then, of course, favorite thing about this coupe car, the shoulder line right here, very strong, sporty shoulder. That would be one of the main reasons not to go for a 3 Series, but more for the design-oriented 4 Series, definitely. If you compare it to the predecessor, the 4 Series Coupe is now also, by the way, 2 centimeters or almost an inch wider, both front and rear. And if you compare it to the 3 Series, it's also a wider track. So that gives a little bit more sportiness. Then visually, you can see here a horizontal stress, especially with these new tail lamps. I think they are, very modern, but also timeless at the same time. Then the M440i will also be the same for the M440d. They get cerium gray fake exhaust tips and the rear. The real exhaust is on the inside. This makes it, more massive from the outside. But it will be different with the base models or with the smaller engines. We can soon take a look at that. Then there's this diffuser style here in the central part, so a more massive look here for the M Performance model. What do you think here so far? In the M Performance models, or option with the M Sports package, you also get this additional lip here. But I don't think that's really fluent in design, so I would prefer it with the base model without it. And we always love to show you different trims. This one here is, so to say, a base spec 4 Series Coupe, and I think it really works very well already from the base spec. This is a 430i under the hood, by the way, but it will look the same when it's a 420i. So you do not necessarily need the M Performance model to make it look sporty. You can see here again with the long hood. And the front grille, you can see, looks here like this. Again, base is also the mesh grille on the inside, exclusively for the 4 Series, for these models then. And then the chrome frame around, and optionally again you could also get it in black with the shadow line, and then the cerium gray as we've seen earlier with the M440i or M440d models. So what do you think? Would you take it like this? Of course it's also in different color here, now in white. Or would you really go for one of the M Performance models? And here I now turn on the lights that you can see the difference. These are the base standard LED headlamps, and then you can see that the daytime running light is a little bit different, just has this slight U form, whereas the optional adaptive LED with laser light, they go around here a little bit more in the daytime running light, but I think this also works very well visually. A beautiful perspective for this sporty vehicle is always this 3/4 rear perspective, because you can very well see the shoulder line here, also with chrome frame around the windows. Actually, one thing is not based with this vehicle. It also has the optional 19-inch wheels. You can also go for bigger wheels for lower spec cars, so to say. But again, I think it's actually quite nice. And now looking at the very rear, what is even more interesting, here the 430i, the 4-cylinder petrol engine, has real exhaust tips. And I think these are more beautiful, round, real exhaust tips. I think they are more beautiful than the, fake outer tips we've seen with the M Performance model. Or what's your take on that? Here, by the way, this new horizontal headlamp gives an even more striking contrast when the color is now in white. What do we have under the hood? So far it's pretty simple, either a 2-liter 4-cylinder or a 3-liter 6-cylinder, both petrol and diesel. And the exact setup starts with the petrol engines, 420i, the 4-cylinder 184 horsepower, 430i with 258 horsepower, and then the 6-cylinder petrol, the one you can see here, is the M440i xDrive, this one then with all-wheel drive, but with rear-wheel bias, 388 horsepower in the US because no filter, and 374 horsepower in Europe, again because we need the filter, and that is costing a little bit of horsepower. Diesel side, 420D, optional xDrive, 190 horsepower, that's the 4-cylinder. And then the 430D is already a 6-cylinder on the diesel side, always xDrive, 286 horsepower. And the top diesel M440D xDrive 6-cylinder, 340 horsepower. All come with 8-speed automatic gearbox and either servotronic steering or variable sport steering for the 440i or 440d, or optional then with the M Sports package you can also get. So this M Sports package will include a lot of features that you usually get standard for the 440i or 440d. And again, we can expect a rear-wheel biased all-wheel drive. it theoretically can also drive rear-wheel drive only in some situations, but the more you hit the throttle, the more power will also be transported to the front wheels. Well, if you ask me which engine to go for, I think for this vehicle, this kind of vehicle, petrol engine with rear-wheel drive, isn't it? And in Europe, that would mean you have to go for the 4-cylinder petrol engine, since the M440i is xDrive, so all-wheel drive only in Europe. However, our friends in the US, the same goes for the M340i, will be the same with the M440i. There it will also be available rear-wheel drive only. And yeah, 6-cylinder, rear-wheel drive only, that sounds like a combination for that car, doesn't it? This is the car key. We know it from the 3 Series, slim and light, and with the M colors here at the side for the M Performance models. When I open the vehicle, then there's also a nice puddle light with the BMW wings, and it's indeed originating from the ground here. So, you know, it's coming indeed from here. Very interesting, because sometimes it derives from the side mirrors or something, or from the door handle, but in this case really from there. Interesting. You can also use keyless entry with putting your finger on the top side to close it or hand on the inside to open it. And then we have the frameless doors, of course, here, typical coupe style, and a very high build quality. This is also one of the main new things if you compare it to the predecessor. Soft touch doors, soft touch here as well, then Hofmeister King design feature from the door handles. Optional Harman Kardon sound system, because you have either 6 speakers, 10 speakers, or then with this one optional 16 speakers. This is a top option then. Here the M440i interior. The 4 Series in general is a little bit sportier, also from design, from the interior, but of course we see a lot of similarities with the 3 Series. These sport seats here are standard from the seat form, so the 4 Series always comes with sport seats with a little more accentuations. Option, you can get M Sport seats, at least in Europe, not in the US. These would have then integrated head restraints, but I would just recommend stick with the base of sport seats. In Europe, or in Germany also, they start with fabric on the inside and some SensorTech leather red accentuations. That's a good animal-free solution. And US would have the SensorTech as base in beige or as black. That's a full leather red seat then. So actually very good standard choices which are animal-free. This here is the optional animal skin seat in this case, but just an option. So I would say, let's get inside. And it doesn't feel too different from the 3 Series. They, of course, share the very same new platform. Yeah, this car here a little bit lower from the ground and also a little bit lower from the roofline. So you have, let's say, a little sporty atmosphere in the interior. Manual steering, change here, up and down, in and out. But you still feel like in a mid-size vehicle. It is a mid-size vehicle, in this case mid-size coupe. The A-pillar here, of course, is a little bit flatter. But when I put the seat all the way down with 1.86 m or 6'1", yeah, long-term subscribers already know it, but I have to repeat it because we always have new viewers. Here we go with the headroom. So there's still a lot of headroom left, no problem. And it's indeed a quite comfortable seating position. It's a good mix of sportiness and comfort. And that's also the whole scheme of the vehicle, this mix of sportiness and comfort. And that's also the reason I would not go with the biggest wheels and not with the fixed M suspension, but the adaptive suspension, and also with the base sport seats. Then you have a good mixed setup, definitely. Talking about sporty features, by the way, because I have the shifting pedals here, there will be 2 new features here introduced with this vehicle. First of all, let's start with the sporty one. You can always shift down yourself with the shifting pedals right here, but there's a new sprint mode, so-called sprint mode. When you hold it for 2 seconds and then accelerate, then the car automatically shifts down a couple of gears in the lowest suitable or possible one that you can make like a good Autobahn acceleration maneuver, for example, and then, so to say, puts the sport mode in, even if you have not selected it in the middle console. Yeah, you could also just shift down 2 gears yourself, but this would be a more more extreme move, so to say, and using more technology. Why not? And the other thing would be with the right shifting pedal. If you hold this one, then you can use in the mild hybrid models the sailing mode, so that the engine is shut down and you're just rolling. When you're already in the 8th in the top gear from the automatic transmission, and then hold the right shifting pedal, then you can activate the sailing mode, so to say, manually. So a little bit more tech involving the shifting pedals here. Now the interior overview. This of course was we know from the 3 Series, and if you compare it to the 4 Series predecessor, of course everything digitalized now, soon more to the different sizes. The climate unit is still manual like this, so you can also control it while driving very well. And you can see the design here, how the top part here is mirrored on the lower part and how everything is built. This is among the highest build quality we see now in the automotive industry. Metal knurled knob right here. So far in the predecessor generation, BMW was rather lagging behind the competitor models. Now they are among leading. So this is very interesting what they taken the steps here. Also, for example, here, the soft touch dashboard, very good. And the steering wheel here is the M steering wheel with a very thick grip. Yeah, sick. You can also say, hey, a sick sports car. And on the right side, you have the voice control input, either clicking the button right there, or saying, hey, BMW, for example. Then you can also start the voice command, or with the individualized voice command, like, hey, honey, or whatever. So, and on the left side, you have the cruise control. The adaptive cruise control now has more features, also like traffic sign recognition, and it's stopping and continue in traffic, for example, and also has a emergency lane function if you get the most sophisticated assistance system pack, for example. And heated steering wheel is also a very nice option. So, the screen setup. Now it gets really important. The base setup would be analog gauges with 5.1 inches on the middle part, and on the right side you would have 8.8 inch, a smaller screen. This is called the BMW Live Cockpit and is standard. The BMW Live Cockpit Plus would be then if you have a GPS for the smaller screen with operating system 6. This one here you can see is the option. Left side 12.3 inches, full digital instrument. Right side 10.25 inches, the bigger screen, and operating system 7, the most current one. And this now, for the first time, offers not only Apple CarPlay, but also Android Auto support for the BMWs, and both wireless only. And now you might ask yourself, if you're an existing BMW customer, yes, it will be possible. If you have this big screen, 10.25 inches, with the operating system 7, to receive an over-the-air update for your Android Auto support. The reason is the 7.0 system, this is the only one that actually supports the over-the-air upgrades, and by mid-2020 then you can get a message and say, yes, I want to have this update, and then you can also get the Android Auto support. So depending on the country, it starts mid-2020, and then maybe a little bit later in your country, it depends on. But if you have this system here, which is built in here, also possible to retrofit. Very interesting news. And since this is the first time we see Android Auto in the BMW, we start exactly with this. First time available now with the 4 Series, and then also for the other operating 7 BMWs if you retrofit it. So here, that's how it looks like in the German version then from Jonas's phone. And the iPhone integration, of course, looks a little bit different. Then I would have to use my phone for that. And the normal BMW operating system looks like this. There you can also see how the car looks without the front number plate. Of course, way better. You'll have the sport displays, for example, with the G meter and also with the power output and so on. Some things to play around with. And the BMW GPS looks like this, pretty smooth as well, and has guided us the right way so far always. And yeah, what about the voice commands? Either again with the special activation word you can say, or saying hey BMW, depending on, you can deactivate it as well, or I sometimes just use then the key at the, or the button at the steering wheel. Navigate to Manchester.
Okay, tell me the name of the street, or say start route guidance.
Main Street.
Okay, tell me the house number or say start route guidance.
1, 2, 3, if that exists.
Unfortunately, I couldn't find this house number.
Okay, but we see that it's working. I mean, sometimes it's working better, sometimes less. Usually we have quite good experience with that. When the engine is running, by the way, you can also set the temperature, like saying like set temperature to 22 degrees. Yeah, it's okay. Cancel. Or like what? Cancel. Sometimes I use like, okay. Just press the home button. By the way, there's a nice comfort feature. When I close the door, there are these seat belt reachers like this, and then you can very easily put them on. Pretty cool, and they draw back again when you open the door. A very beautiful frameless back mirror. It's quite stylish. And then one of my favorite features, once again, BMW wings design in this top light. Then the lower area, you can get different decor elements, by the way. You can, for example, get this one here, but also a wooden interior if you like. Then this is the big BMW display key, by the way. You see it's all fresh and still in foil. But this would be also a main key if you like it. You don't have to get it, but you can. For me, it's always good to have this one because I then see if the car is closed. Because sometimes, did I really close the doors? I don't know, but here you can see them. Then there's an inductive charging pad here in the front for your smartphone. That indeed makes sense then, because Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, as I said, is wireless only. Adaptive cup holders, one USB-A charger. Then we have the shifting lever here, quite subtle design. Activate the camera, for example, then the different driving modes that will be available. On the right side, you have this controller then here for turning and pressing, good quality again, and some hotkeys. And then there's this SensorTech cover for the armrest, well attached, and underneath some more space and USB-C device. And the digital instruments, they also show you when the doors are open. Yeah, and you can see when they start the engine like this, then it makes sense that the RPMs also go counterclockwise, because that leaves space in the middle, for example, and also for a GPS route when this one is set. And this is the rear view camera with a nice resolution. Also a fake drone view from above is available, and a reversing assistant as well, shown it in a couple of videos, that you can go back a way you've been going in, and the car automatically does that itself. Very interesting. And the nice option is the head-up display. It looks clearer in real life than on camera at the moment. It also appears bigger in real life than on camera. Speed, allowed speed, and also GPS info if you have a route set. Now is the time where everyone can put the time code in the comments and saying like, not sure which time it is, will be like 8:25 or something. I don't know. Mark that if it really works. Thomas in the rear seat. Yeah, I know you like to do that. So let's get in the rear, and when we move it like this here with the handle electrically moving forward, that's of course a nice comfort feature. When you need the rear seats frequently, you would go for a 3 Series. When you don't, you can also go for the design-oriented Coupé here. And let's see, I have the seat as I would be driving. Well, first of all, sitting here is actually quite interesting, quite cozy. Not too bad from comfort, but of course, when I relax with the spine, I do not hit the head with the ceiling here, but do not hit the ceiling with the head. But here, when I put my spine up, then I do hit it. So, yeah, shouldn't be too good for really tall people in the rear, but that's, of course, the Coupé style. Other than that, the seating position not too uncomfortable. You can have here the ski hatch reaching through all the way from here, and also the cup holder section. They are adaptive. And there's also another climate unit in the rear and 2 more USB-C devices. But now about the seat. When I put it back, it goes back to the position as I would be driving. And there is more legroom than in the predecessor. That's definitely good. And that's the reason. Oh, that was that was really exciting now. It directly, it really works, So that's what I want to say. And exactly like on the millimeter. So in this case here with the new 4 Series Coupé, I can really sit here, directly here with the knees. It works. There's not much space left, but it directly works. And if we put the seat a little bit higher, then I could even put my knees in this, in this back part of the seat. So this would work even a little bit better. Then my knees would be like in here. At the moment they're here. So, but if I put the seat in the front higher, then they would be here, and it would work even better with the legroom. So I think for a mid-size coupe, definitely a good result. That's a big advantage here now with the increased wheelbase. What about the trunk? 440 liters, so a little bit bigger than before. And there we go. So it's not too bad. This is, of course, typical coupe or sedan opening, but wide side pockets here. And we can also take some measurements, because here in the length, it's actually about a meter, and the same goes also almost the same for the width. So it's like, 95 centimeters in width here, and a little bit wider than in this case. So, and about the height, this is here about 50 centimeters, and especially this has been increased because there's no, low loading area in the lower part, so everything is being used. And then you can also flip the seats, either with the ski hitch we shown you earlier, or release them right here, and then use your luggage to push against the seats. That would be one possibility. If you can't do that, then you have to go around and then set either just a central ski hatch, or then flip it all the way like this. And a short interior differentiation. Also the optional animal skin seat, by the way, here in red. Yeah, I don't think we really need this red color, so I would actually stick then with the black or beige Sensatec seats in US, or then with the fabric Sensatec seats in Europe. But just to show you some variation here, by the way, also the high gloss black interior decor element. This should get a lot of fingerprints and stuff, so I think I would opt for another one. But since we have the car here, this is then the difference. And now to the conclusion for today with the all-new BMW 4 Series Coupé, or the BMW Vierer, as we say in Germany. Comes here as a coupé first. We can also expect a cabriolet and also a grand coupé then with 4 doors once again. Exterior-wise, you can see a very daring approach, is now more different to the 3 Series than ever, especially with this very concept car style front grille. Yeah, there is a disadvantage with the number plate in countries where this is actually mandatory, so you can only hope as a customer that you are in one of the countries or states where you don't have to have this front number plate. Nevertheless, I think the design is, very sporty, but not too much over the top. And I think it works very well both as a standard model and here also as the M Performance model. So I think a beautiful design job overall, especially towards the rear. The interior now a very high build quality if you compare it to the predecessor. This is a massive step forward, then more digitalization, of course. Finally, some Android Auto function also for Android users. And really good what they put in the interior as for the practicability. Now with increased wheelbase, you can actually sit with quite tall Ls in the rear. Maybe not for the longest holiday journey, but it works quite well considering the design approach of the vehicle. And I think the interior also shows this sportiness and comfort mix they try to deliver with this vehicle. That's also a reason why we'd go for a mid-size coupe. If you say a sports car is too sporty for me, but a normal mid-size sedan or touring is maybe not exciting enough, then this one could be the compromise between that. But indeed, this car doesn't have to be a compromise, if you know what I mean. So I think a very interesting and attractive car, definitely. Everything we see from the interior concept was also quite convincing. Nice that you can also have a different choice, both in US and in Europe, from animal-free seats as standard. And I think driving-wise, we can expect the base of a 3 Series, but then adding a little bit more sportiness with a little bit sportier setup and suspension-wise and so on. And of course, you can pick from the named different suspension we talked about earlier. Wheel choice will also be crucial, of course, if you think about sportiness versus comfort, so you can also individualize that for you. So, a very interesting day here at the studio with the all-new BMW 4 Series. Would like to hear your opinion now. Please join us in the comment section, and I hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll keep you updated with all the latest product updates and hope to be able to drive this one very soon. Thank you so much for joining in today. See you next time.